After 3 failed attempts in the last 2 weeks, the Senate concludes legislative work on the much anticipated Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026. The Senate passed the document rejecting Clause 60 and the provision for real-time electronic transmission of election results from each polling unit. The Senate, however, retained the provision of the Principal Act that favors manual vote counting and transfer of election results as prescribed by the Electoral Commission. But in a swift reaction, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, said the Senate did not reject electronic transmission of results, saying that electronic transmission is part of what is retained in the Principal Act.
But the social media already is awash with the fact that the Senate has rejected electronic transmission. That is not true. That is not true. Electronic transmission had always been in our Act. And what we did was to retain the electronic transmission, which had been in our Act and which was used in 2022.
The Senate had earlier rejected the provision of Clause 18, which seeks to allow voters to replace missing voters' cards by downloading them online. Senate also rejected the provision of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill that seeks to place 10-year ban on persons who buy and sell voters' cards. The lawmakers argued that the punishment is too punitive. It, however, accepted the fine of 5 million naira and 2 years jail term for offenders. A major high point was a heated debate about the provision that such amendment should be at least 360 days before election, and whether or not the amendment was not already an exercise in futility. While some lawmakers called for constitutional amendment to reduce the days to 180 days, others like Senator Niyi Adegbomire argued that all that is required is to just amend the Principal Act. The Senate subsequently reduced the period to 180 days.
This is the constitutional which talks about time of the election. In other words, the date on which the election is to be held.
So,
Section 28 says, give notice when that election will be held. Two different things. Section 28 is not covered by the Constitution, so we can amend it if we want to.
On accreditation and voting, the lawmakers retained Clause 47 with minor adjustments by replacing smart card reader by Model Voter Accreditation System BVAS. Also, only the permanent voter's card can be used for identification at the polling unit.
They provided for smart card reader, which had been used in the previous election, and they said, or any other technological device that may be prescribed by the commission, which is BVAS. But at the time, they had not finalized maybe on the terminology or whatever.
So that's...
We are now correcting it to state BVAS.
On direct primaries, the Senate leaves it to political parties' constitution and guidelines. Akpabio denies any deliberate move by the Senate to delay the amendment of the Electoral Act, saying the Senate was only trying to do a thorough job.
Let me just mention the fact that there was no deliberate attempt on the part of the Nigerian Senate to delay the amendment of the Electoral Act. Our intention had always been to ensure that we do our best and we do it painstakingly.
With this passage, what is left is the harmonization of the resolution of both chambers of the National Assembly and an onward transmission of the document to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his assent. Omo Bazwai, Arise News.